everybody, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to my channel. I am so honored to have you here. It is September, and we are going to dig into everything that's going to be going on in September. We have just wrapped up August, and oh my gosh, what a month we have had. This past month has been a little bit crazy. So much stuff going on energetically. We have had tons of solar flares. The Schumann resonance has been going off the chart all month, and it's been a time of what I would consider deep cleansing, deep reflection time, a time for a recalibration in so many ways. This time is just so unprecedented. We just have not experienced this before. And it almost feels as though we are in the eye of the storm. We are in almost like a birthing canal, pushing through this birthing canal to be able to get to the other side. But we're still deep in the canal, and we've got a little bit of a ways to go before we see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so this time for many of us has been extremely challenging, trying to maintain a normal life, as well as receiving so many shifts and upgrades to our energy bodies as well. So there is a lot of stuff happening, and we are definitely shifting in a massive way. So before we get into the September energy, I want to just recap August a bit, because it is so significant and it's been such a massive shift. There were really four big themes that came through for August, which it's been interesting to watch this, because when I channel this stuff through, you never know what's going to actually come to fruition, right? And there's different varying degrees of how that energy can come through. It can come through very subtly, it can come through on a personal level, or it can come through on a global scale. And we've seen kind of a gamut of a lot of things happening, especially in the collective consciousness. And that's where I really tune in, is more about what's going to go on collectively. So the first big theme that came through was around volatility. And I was picking up a lot more seismic activity, a lot more heat, a lot more water events. And this certainly has picked up around the globe. We have certainly seen a lot of escalation, if I can say that word, escalation around the world, especially there's been concentrated areas in Japan. There was another big eruption that happened in Iceland. And what I've been seeing, it's almost like the tectonic plates are playing Tetris. They are starting to really shift and move around. And this is causing instability on the Earth's surface in a lot of places around the Earth. And I think that we can certainly expect that we're going to get a lot more of these type of activities happening. When the volcano, we had another volcanic eruption in Iceland about a week ago. When that happened, I heard this is just the beginning. So it feels as though Mother Earth is on the precipice of making some massive changes and structural changes on the planet. And it's almost as though she's terraforming. And I've heard other people talk about Earth terraforming. And the literal interpretation of terraforming is to deliberately modify the atmosphere, the components, the temperature, and the surface of the planet. And so it feels as though that is really happening, but I'm also seeing these tectonic plates really changing and shifting. Again, it feels like Tetris to me, that it's moving around in such a dramatic way. But I also feel that not only is Mother Earth doing this, but individually, each of us are going through a similar terraforming process where we are literally completely modifying and shifting our own DNA, our own structures. All of the structural pieces of us are changing. And this started to show up last year when I started to notice that some of my clients, including myself and some close friends, our individual chakras were no longer present in our system, and that it was just one continuous column of light going through. It was like all of those chakras have merged together and we're just one continuous light source. So that is part of the terraforming process. It's part of going through this crystalline structural change in the DNA structures. The energy fields are changing. As I said, with the sun having so much activity, these solar flares are not a coincidence. I mean, we are going through a solar cycle right now, but the amount of energy, the amount of light that's coming on to the planet right now, the amount of shifts that we're seeing within the heartbeat of Earth itself, that impacts you at a cellular level. And that is what we're seeing. So that volatility is actually helping us in many ways, because without that shake up, we would never start to shift and change and move in a different direction. Sometimes we have to be pushed a little bit further and a little bit harder. And this is what I've been shown is that this is like really kind of just a big experiment, that this really hasn't been tested before. And that we are going through a massive testing process in many ways to see how much we can handle. So obviously, our guides will not give us more than we can handle, but we're definitely getting pushed a little bit harder than we normally would. So this comes to the second piece of it, which around the theme around illusions came through. And as this terraforming process is happening, it's interesting because the vision has really been impacted. And I've heard from a lot of people that their vision's also changing. There are days where the vision will be extremely blurry and it's very difficult to see much of anything. And then the next day you may have crystal clear vision and technicolor abilities to see things just in a hyper focused way. And that is causing a deeper ability to see things that are not necessarily in a third dimensional piece, but that we're able to see beyond our reality in deeper ways. This is also helping us to have a more of a bird's eye perspective on what the collective consciousness is doing and what's going on within the third dimensional realities, right? So it's been interesting because at least in the United States, where I'm at, we're in the middle of a very big political cycle. And it's been fun to sit back at the bird's eye perspective and watch everything play out and notice how humans behave in these sorts of situations and how much they can get either sucked into the process or, I think more people I'm seeing are starting to take a little bit more of that step back and look at things from a different perspective. And it's just fun. I was talking to a friend recently about kind of the roles that we each play and how we have certain people come into our lives who are playing a certain role for us so we can then master something ourselves, or we can move through that in a different way. And it's the same thing with, who we see on the world stage and these very public figures. They are obviously playing roles for us, and they are helping to show us what is going to be in alignment for us, or what's going to be more in alignment for the collective as we start to move forward. And it's not an easy role for them to play. They signed up for a pretty big role and a pretty big mission. It's, just part of the play. So it's fun to start to see through those illusions, though, and see things in a different perspective. So the third theme that came through for August was around awakening. And again, this ties into kind of this process of going through this terraforming process, because through that process, there is more ability to bring in other information. And as you're seeing through the illusions, that information is continuing to kind of come in and then lock into place. It's those higher perspectives. It's our soul level pieces that are starting to come in and starting to come back online. And in order to hold that new energy, in order to bring that vibration in, there's been a lot of need to purge out things that are no longer serving you. And so for some of you, that may have been an illness in forms of a cold or forms of other types of illnesses, maybe physically purging stuff out. I had that happen to me earlier in the year where I had to go through a physical purge through the stomach. I was holding a lot of energy in my stomach. That was kind of my weak spot. And that was a whole internal purging process that needed to happen. There's really, the four bodies. There's the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual body. And so those pieces are all getting touched right now, and one may be more prominent than another. You maybe just be focused on one specific thing right now where there is a purging process happening. And so this is going to require a lot more pulling back, a lot more cocooning, a lot more taking care of yourself, a lot more unplugging from things around you in order to really anchor in this new energy and to bring this in. And then the fourth theme for August was around new earth leaders. And there's so much going on that we can't see. There's just so much happening right now. And, these are things that I see a lot into the other realms, and I see what's going on, and I see what's happening in other timelines and what's in this timeline. But there's so much being done in the higher realms. There's so much being done in the unseen worlds. And as you are purging and anchoring in these new energies, that's also helping to emerge new roles for you. And some of you may feel like you're in an in-between space. Some of you may feel like you're in a void space right now, not really knowing which direction to turn and which pathway to take. You may have been doing something for a long time and it no longer feels in alignment, and you're kind of at a pivot point right now, but you haven't received the information for what's next. A lot of that's because many of you have been waiting in the wings. Many of you have been waiting to, quote, come online and to be able to remember some of the gifts that you have carried for many lifetimes. And so those sorts of things are starting to really perk up and begin to emerge for so many of you. And that's where these new earth leaders are really coming in. Maybe you're stepping into doing more grid work for Mother Earth. Maybe you're stepping in to be a guide for other people, to assist other people on their path and their journey. Maybe you are doing things that you're just not even aware of, that while you're sleeping, you're in the astral plane and you're doing work there. So, light holders, light workers, there is so many different levels and layers to what it is that we do. It's not just necessarily one specific thing. It can be very unconscious. You may not be fully aware of what you're doing. But the reality is that we are going through this massive shift, and more people are starting to understand that, and they're starting to remember why they're here and what they were here to do. And as we have this very concentrated next 3 years, a very concentrated energy where it truly is a rebirthing process that we're going through, those sorts of things are going to continue to emerge and become more prominent. And there are new leaders stepping in to bring us into the new Aquarian age that we are in. We are just there on the tip of it. We're just starting it. And the next, cycle is going to be crazy, amazing. But we have to go through a little bit of pain to get there. So, August was a lot. It was an intense month. I know I was personally retreating a lot. I was not very active. I was kind of active at the beginning of the month. And then due to the energies, I found myself so extremely exhausted all the time that I was going to bed early. I was sleeping a lot more. I've also been really focused on making sure I'm taking care of my physical body as best as I possibly can by really working out and exercising and eating the best foods I can. and getting out in nature every day. So that's been my focus. And it's okay. It's okay to take those breaks. It's okay to retreat. It's okay to turn everything off. It's okay to not to be available for everything and everyone. That is really what a lot of you have been asked to do in August. So as we turn to September, again, there are two big kind of cycles this month. There are two big themes because we have two signs that really rule each month. We usually have two acts to the month. September is really no exception. We've got a lot of activity now here at the beginning of the month as I'm recording this on September 1st. And in mid-month, we have another kind of big round of energies going on, mostly to deal with new moon, full moon activities. But we also have an eclipse. Eclipse season has started. It's going to hit mid-month. Our first eclipse, we have our second eclipse at the beginning of October. And so those are going to bring massive and sudden shifts. Plus we have a lot of retrogrades going on right now, which I'll talk about in a minute. So let's start with the themes of September and what's come through. So the first one is rebirth. So as I talked about this transformation that we've been going through in August, this terraforming, this awakening process that we've been going through in August has brought a rebirth of sorts for many people. You may, again, have found yourself alone, retreating, pulling back off social media, feeling like you need a lot of introspection and reflection time, and that's good. And this is going to help you to identify the things that feel out of alignment for you and the cycles that need to close out. This is a continued process that many people are going through as the karmic cycles are still, we're working through karmic cycles, through relationships, through situations, through ideas that we had, through collective thought forms that we've been attached to. Those are the things that we're starting to pull away from and really starting to recalibrate around, okay? So again, take the time. If there's a forced rest, okay, so be it. But if you can try and find a way for you to have some rest on your own accord, that would even be better. And so you don't have to go through a lot of stuff. I think that we have a little bit more to go. The full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 17th is going to help to bring a little bit of closure to some of these cycles that you may have been going through and letting those go. Pisces is again about the unconscious plane. It's about the spiritual plane. It is about the karmic contracts. It is about what is unseen in many ways. And that is a nice closing of the cycle. What I heard is the rebirth is here, renewal, reset, regenerate. So as that full moon comes in on September 17th, this is going to harken back to what was going on last year. Last year, we had the full moon in Pisces on August 30th. That was right after Uranus went retrograde in Taurus, which is just happening again. And that particular time was a crazy time for the collective because we had so many planets in retrograde at that time. And we were also opening the portal into the fifth dimensional consciousness at that time. So there was a lot of major shifts happening, a lot of volatile energies going on, and a lot of karmic cycles ending, especially with relationships at that time, especially late August, September, and October. And as we are cycling through this time again, a lot of those cycles are really ending. There may be situations where you may have some repeat examples coming up for you to see if you have really moved on from things, if you have are you able to take a different perspective, a different route, a different way of doing that. And it's also going to bring a time of deeper connection to our higher selves, to the spiritual plane, and again, to our relationships. So this rebirth is very important, especially on a personal level, because that's where it needs to start. It needs to start at the personal level, the individual level, for us to really grasp this And that's then going to permeate across the collective as well. So the second theme of September that came through was refinement. So right now we're in the Virgo mansion. We just entered the Virgo mansion here at the end of August, and that's going to continue till September 22nd. This is a perfect time to be hyper-focused on the details of the things that we want to release, of the things that we want to refine, of our systems itself. So Virgo really rules the systems of our body, of our physical structure. It typically sits in the 6th house natively, which is about our day-to-day routines. It's about our true vocation. It's how we take care of ourselves. It's the physicality of the body itself. And it will show up if we have imbalances here, that will show up within the 6th house and what imbalances that we have. So look at where Virgo resides in your natal chart. This is going to give you insights as to what you're looking at refining in your life. So it could be about yourself if you're in the 1st house. Your 10th house could be about your career. Your 4th house could be about your home and your family. So there's a lot of things that could be coming up for you right now as to exactly where to focus the refinement pieces on. We are also going to examine those details with the new moon in Virgo that's going to take place on the 2nd, on September 2nd. So tomorrow we're right in the eye of that one. And that is a perfect time to set those intentions around where you want to be more efficient, where you want to be more refined. And it's a re-examining your priorities, right? Where are you placing your energy, and where does that need to be reworked? And where do you need to remove yourself from structures or situations that do not bring you joy, do not bring you peace, do not bring you happiness? So that is a lot of what this time is about within the refinement pieces. Okay, so the third theme for September that came through was the in-between. One of the cards I pulled for this month was the card of the Hanged Man. And in some ways, I feel like we really are in this limbo period. We're in the void in many ways. And there can be a feeling of nothing is really moving forward. And there's not a lot of clarity right now. And that can be frustrating at times when we are in this period where we just don't know what's going to happen. But part of this is about truly surrendering and trusting in the timing and the divine purpose of everything. And it's really about, you don't need to know the plan. And if we knew the plan as humans, if we knew why we were here and what we were here to do, we'd be bored. There would be no fun in trying to explore this or understand it at a deeper level. So part of that is enjoy the journey, enjoy the scenery along the way, enjoy the experiences along the way. And it's okay not to know. We don't have to have the answers to everything. It's okay to have that uncertainty at times, because really within that void is where the magic really happens. That is where you're literally creating something from nothing. It's through the darkness and the sitting in the womb that the light begins to emerge. So part of the ask this month, especially this first part of it, is really getting comfortable with being still and really looking at finding your peace and your truth here. So the hangman, just enjoy hanging upside down and surrendering and trusting to all of it. The next theme that really came through was around the theme of fulfillment. And this, again, kind of ties in with the in-between piece, which is really, there's so much beauty in the world, there's so much beauty in life, but we miss those things because we get so consumed with all of the external noise and what is going on. And it's about looking at what are the little tiny things that actually bring you fulfillment. Is it gardening and getting out and connecting with your plants? I know that's been a big thing for me and a lot of my friends, is that we are spending a lot of time with the trees, with our flowers, with our pets, really just savoring those particular very peaceful, calm, loving times. It's about really making sure that if you have a checklist of things that you really want to do in your life, that you just do it. You do it. And not get to the end of life going, gosh, I wish I had done X, Y, and Z. Or, oh gosh, I was so afraid or scared to do this thing, and I let it go. And it was something that I really regret. It's about doing the things that light you up, fulfilling those dreams, no matter what, and not having that regret in your life, the regrets of not doing something. So the fulfillment piece is, where can you find fulfillment, and where can you strip back to the point where it's not about the $1 million or the big house or the focus on the external stuff, right? It's not that. It's about how can you come back and have that fulfillment in just being a human. What are the things that can really light you up just being a human? And what are the things that really drive you, that will be dreams of yours? Don't let your dreams just dissipate. Follow those dreams, really follow your passion. So that was the other big theme. And then finally, the last theme was the unexpected, or expect the unexpected. This was a little bit brought through in August, just a little bit, and but it's going to really amp up this month and into October because of these eclipses that we're having. And eclipses always are going to bring unexpected changes into the collective and into people's lives individually, especially depending on where it's hitting in your natal chart. And so that first eclipse will take place on September 17th. That is the full moon in Pisces. And then we have a second one in October, which is the solar eclipse in Libra. So again, we've got the spiritual plane and we've got the relationship plane that we are working with. There is just so many different shifts happening where there's a lot of unexpected things going on. And you have to kind of look around a little bit and get quiet in order to expect kind of these unexpected pieces. But it's also to, again, remember that when these changes come in, these unexpected changes come in for yourself or for the collective, that you go back to the surrender and trust, and know that there's a bigger plan and there's always something better on the other side of it. And it may not seem that way in the time that you're going through it, but it always comes out better on the other side. So if you surrender and trust to it and not fight it, then things are going to get a lot better. But I would definitely expect more of the unexpected happening. I talked about miracles last month too, because as these energies are shifting and as we're seeing things in a different perspective, there is a lot of miracles happening, and you just have to be tuned into the subtleties of these things. And we have a lot more connections with other energies, higher states of consciousness energies as well, that have been coming in. And I have seen an increase, at least in people having sightings of unidentified flying objects. And I've had my own experiences with light beings that have been coming in. And it's a really magical time. It really is. So if we can get out of the kind of the drudgery of the day-to-day, and release from that, there's a lot of really amazing things that can happen and a lot of exciting things that can happen. Okay, so those were the big themes for September. Let's talk about the actual astrology and what's going on. So today is a big day, September 1st, as I'm recording this, because not only are we starting the month, but we also have Uranus stationing retrograde in Taurus. So again, this happened last year at the end of August. Uranus is the planet of unexpected stuff, right? It's the disruptor energy. And in Taurus, it's about our third dimensional reality. It is about the physical plane. So again, I go back to these, there's so many shifts happening, and I'm seeing this like Tetris thing going on with the tectonic plates and these shifts within the earth terraforming. I think that we could expect some more things like that to actually occur here in September. The other big thing that's happening today is that Pluto is moving back into Capricorn at 29 degrees. So the last time Pluto was in Capricorn, it's been going back and forth between Aquarius and Capricorn. The last time it was at 29 degrees Capricorn was in March of 2023. And that's when we collectively had a little mini banking crisis start to occur in the United States. So just to refresh your memory, if you've listened to this before, Capricorn is about our structures, it's about our political system, it's about our banking systems, it's about really anything that's very traditional top-down structures that have been in place for a while. And we're moving kind of out of this 20-year cycle from 2008. 2008 is when Pluto entered Capricorn. That's when we had a big financial crisis, a big housing financial crisis in 2008. Now we're here, and we're on the last cusp, like the last dying breath of Pluto and Capricorn. And so I would expect that we are going to see a little bit more of a flare up happening before it fully moves into Aquarius, and will be there for the next 18 plus 19 years after that. So this is going to bring some more stuff happening for sure. And where it's going to affect you personally is going to be where Capricorn is in your natal chart. So look at where Capricorn sits within your natal chart. That's going to be the big theme of where you're going to see this. Now, the last time this happened in March 2023, at least for me, I had this amazing breakthrough, this deeper connection with light beings was happening at that time. It was just huge. But I have Capricorn in my ninth house, which is about kind of the higher perspective, the higher mind, international travel. It is about the spiritual, like understandings of spiritual stuff too. So I had this really amazing transformative breakthrough in March of 2023. It was like things really shifted dramatically for me. And that can happen very much on the level for you as well. But again, look at where Capricorn is in your chart. That's where you're going to see some deep transformation. Pluto is about unearthing what is hidden. It is about really pulling things up that need to be regenerated, need to be rebirthed, need to be transformed. And so that's what we're going to see with that particular energy. So let's talk about planets that are in retrograde right now, because we have a concentration of planets in retrograde and a lot of outer planets in retrograde as well. Again, this is hearkening back to last year. Venus isn't in retrograde right now, which we had that going on last year, which was the heavy concentration on relationships. This year we have all these outer planets and going on right now. So Mercury just got out of retrograde on August 28th. It's in Leo right now. We're going to still be in post shadow until September 12th. So we have a couple weeks where we still have a little diciness going on with Mercury. That happens, multiple times a year. We do have another retrograde of Mercury on November the 25th. And that will be going through December 15th in the sign of Sagittarius. So that will be our final Mercury retrograde for 2024. Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure and lessons, it went retrograde on June 29th in Pisces, and it's going to remain there until November 15th. Saturn has been helping us pull down the illusions. It has really been giving us a lot of discipline around our spiritual practices at this time. And so this is a time where this is going to go back over this and making sure, do you have the practices in place? Have you done the work? it's going to put a little bit more of that pressure on us to really focus there. So look where Pisces is in your chart. That's where you're going to have a lot more concentrated focus on that. Uranus will be retrograde from September 1st until January 30th of 2025. Again, this is unstable energy. This is a shake-up energy, and it is going to really go back over some things. So again, because it's in Taurus, we certainly are going to have a lot more of that at the third dimensional level. This is why I'm talking seismic activity pieces. That could be very, very much at the forefront of it. Disruptions in our financial systems could be a piece of that, especially with Pluto also in Capricorn. It should be interesting. That's what I should say. Neptune is also in retrograde right now. It went in retrograde July 2nd. It's going to be in retrograde until December 7th in Pisces. Jupiter retrograde is happening as well, and it will stay in retrograde in Gemini until February the 4th of 2025. And then Chiron, the wounded warrior, has been in Aries. And so anybody who has Chiron natively in Aries, that's me. It's generations. It's usually like 4 years at a time. It went retrograde July 26th, and it's going to be there until December 29th. So a lot of what we're focusing on is that personal wounding and how can we react to situations differently versus trying to get revenge on people who've done us harm or have hurt our feelings. So instead of doing the hurt people, how can we look at things from the higher perspective and really have lessons that help us evolve versus keeping us stuck in the same cycles? And then Mars is going to go retrograde. The final retrograde is going to be Mars will go retrograde on December the 6th in Leo. And then it will stay there until February 24th of 2025, where it will emerge in Cancer. So again, when we have this many planets, especially these outer planets in retrograde all at the same time, this is a shift in consciousness for the collective. Yes, it's going to impact you individually as well. You'll have to look at your natal chart to see how much of an impact it's going to have, and if it's transiting any of your natal chart planet placements as well. But we are going through a massive transformation, and I sound like a broken record when I talk about this because I feel like it's the same thing all the time. But the next 3 years, like this year, 24, 25, 26 is again, a massive concentration period where the amount of transformation that we're going through collectively and individually is so huge. Most of the outer planets are getting ready to change signs as well in 2025, 2026. So, Pluto, for instance, this is the last time it's going to be in Capricorn for our lifetime, because it takes 230 years for Pluto to make a full circle around the zodiac. Saturn takes roughly 29, 30 years to circle. Uranus takes 84 years. Neptune takes 165 years. Jupiter takes 12 years. Chiron takes 4 years. So we go through these, we're always constantly moving and changing. But when these outer planets change signs, when they move in between these different signs, it's a collective shift on a big level. It's collectively hitting us on a huge level. And so, those are not easy things to transition through. They're slower moving. It's a slower process that we go through, which is in some ways nice because it's unfolding. It's not just all this once. But when these shifts happen, you feel it. You feel that these transitions happen. And we've just got to get prepared for it. And so that whole stripping back process that you may be going through, it's forcing us to strip back to the bare minimum right now. And it's all for these major changes that are occurring. So It's all part of the process and all part of the plan, and it's perfectly and divinely timed and orchestrated for sure. So let's talk about just the highlight of the key dates for September. So September 1st, of course, today we had Uranus retrograde and Pluto moved back into Capricorn. Tomorrow we have the Virgo new moon. This is a perfect time to set intentions for where you want refinement in your life, where you want to look at the details, where you want to really focus in on subtle shifts and changes. Great time to focus on your physical system as well. But look at where Virgo is in your natal chart, what house it sits in. That's going to help you find where to focus your intentions. September 4th, Mars will enter Cancer. Not particularly happy here. This could get a lot of what I would call upset, emotional upset could happen here. Mars is very aggressive energy. Cancer is very much the nurturing mother energy. So these two energies are very much kind of polar opposites. So we could see a flare up in our emotional systems, our emotional body during this time frame. September 9th, Mercury goes into Virgo. It loves it here. It's its natal placement. So we're going to have a lot more ability to organize, to focus our thoughts, to focus our communication. So to be much more crisp and clear. And September 17th, we have that full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. Again, massive game changer. Eclipses, we are already in the window of feeling this. This is on a spiritual level. This is about the unseen. This is about the karmic contracts. This is about the things that are hidden. Massive shift. And it's also around where do you really need to let go of things that are not aligned to your higher self. Big shift. September 22nd, we enter the Libra mansion. Sun moves into Libra. We also have Venus entering Scorpio, and that can get spicy. Venus and Scorpio, our love, our value system, our financial system in Scorpio. Again, we're going to be doing some really deep work around this. It can get very emotional. It can get very intense emotionally around that time, and in our relationships as well. September 26th, we have Mercury entering Libra. This could be really nice, actually, because we're in the Libra mansion. We've got Mercury entering Libra. We could see some really beautiful ways of trying to find more balance, more harmony. We could find that at a global level, there could be some sense of trying to find some stability in conflict zones, trying to find some resolutions in some of these conflict zones. Obviously, we have multiple global wars going, not global wars, but wars, concentrated wars going on in certain areas of the world. Hopefully that this energy coming in about balance and justice and peace will help to override some ability to maybe get some negotiations in place and to perhaps bring some sort of at least pause to the conflicts that are happening around the globe. And then, of course, as we enter the very first part of October, we have that new moon solar eclipse in Libra. So again, another push to find balance, harmony, peace. So the last part of September with these eclipses and with moving into the Libra mansion, Mercury in Libra and the new moon solar eclipse in Libra, that could be a time, a shift, a global shift of where we are trying to bring some peace and resolution to some situations that have been very volatile for a while. So right at the beginning of the month, that midpoint to late part of the month, we're going to experience the most, I think, transition and shifts. We'll have a little bit of lulls that will come through at different parts of the month as well. But just know that take full advantage of those lulls and take full advantage of this time to retreat and take care of you. Because as I said, October and November we have got a lot more stuff, including as we move into 2025 and 2026. So many things are changing and shifting. And we're at this inflection point that we can, and a crossroads of sorts, we choose to go the same path or we choose a different pathway, and we embrace the unknown. And we really, again, go into the hanged man position so that we can surrender and trust to what's coming. The other two cards that I pulled for the collective this month was the Ten of Cups. This obviously is about more emotional fulfillment, having that just feeling, fulfilled in many ways, and having that ability to be with the people that you love, having those emotional, mature conversations with people, and having that fulfillment. I talked about that big theme of fulfillment. This is definitely one of those that represents that fulfillment, that harmony and that fulfillment. And the other one that came through this month was the Page of Cups. This is really around looking at that dream, those dreams. What are the things that, again, kind of comes back to fulfillment in many ways? What are the things that are going to kind of light you up? Where can you lean into the unexpected, to expect the unexpected, to look for those synchronicities, look for the magic, look for all kinds of new ways of approaching your life? Really, the slate is clean. If you've been doing this purging process, the slate is clean right now. It is definitely a time where you can lean in, and really the sky's the limit as to what you want to bring in and what you want to pursue moving forward. So we have so many beautiful opportunities this month to just really harness and embrace change, and just go on a new path and find that balance, find that harmony within yourself, within your systems. That Virgo Libra energy is so beautiful because it's bringing refinement, and then it's bringing that harmony and that balance to you. So anyway, I wish you all the most beautiful September, and at least for those of us in North America, we are heading into the fall season. For those of you in the Southern hemispheres, you are moving into the spring, so you're having this beautiful rebirth, and we are having in the Northern hemispheres this time of just, kind of a death process, and letting go of those things that are not serving us. So enjoy September. Take care, everyone.